Welcome to the Spindown podcast with me, Tiny,
And I'm Matt.
and the guy who sounds like the voice of God is Andre. We also have Hoffman here visiting as our fact checker slash car. So tournament-wise, not much happened this weekend. It was exactly GP Richmond, which was Amonkhet Sealed / Draft Day 2. So if Andre could pull, I guess we don't need to pull up the top 8. I'll just read it. Let me look up the top 8 and we can talk about who won.
That's dumb.
What?
You did topics are up.
So audio's good?
You.
Even though Hoffman's miming that audio doesn't work?
Does it not work? No, it's work.
Alright, so now we get to try and figure out top 8, even though Wizards gives you a hell of a time trying to figure out who actually top 8 in an event. So first place was Michael Baranicki. Is that how you say his name, Andre? He'll also be the official name.
Yeah.
And then we have Eli Cassis in second, Evan Espacito in third, Martin Dang in fourth, Brian Von Doon in fifth, shocker that he top 8 in an event, Brad Carpenter in sixth, Thiago Saporito in seventh, and Josh Jones in eighth. Seeing as it was limited, I feel like we don't really need to cover deck lists.
They might be pretty spicy though, but I also agree.
I heard that apparently the finals was decided by Flang.
Oh, told you, Fling's just a great card in this set. I love it.
Great's a pretty aggressive term, I think.
Great, it's a great card. We get ATOG Fling in this format? Nah.
Not in this limited format. In this standard format, we get ATOG Fling. Alright, so now that boring news is out of the way, there weren't any other big tournaments this weekend, right? I don't think so.
Not that I know.
The real big news, I think, was that Star City Games came out with their update for their Season 2 Open schedule. The big standout to me, being from Central Pennsylvania, is that Washington, D.C. is having a Legacy Open October 28th and the 29th. Yay, Legacy.
It's also exciting because there's going to be a lot of neat decks showing up. I think we get to finally see what Legacy's going to look like
without top.
Yeah.
Yeah, Legacy should be nice and open, nice and a good format. Yeah. And then we have the return of our favorite open format. Your only open format you've ever played, our favorite, is Team Constructed in Baltimore, November 18th and the 19th. As to whether or not we'll bring Hoffman with us to the team event, I don't know.
I don't know Hoffman. I know a 1-4.
But that should be really exciting. Besides that, there's actually more modern opens than standard opens by a significant number. It looks like it's like 6-2, which I think is a big change.
Yeah. I thought they were moving away from having more modern events than standard.
I think that was Wizards. Wizards was leaning away from having like modern GPs, so I think Star City's probably trying to fill that void. Plus, like standard hasn't really been pulling as many people recently. Besides that, there's not that much. The Season 2 Invitational is... They don't say where it is. I was going to say it's in such and such place, but evidently that place doesn't exist.
That's how you get the invitation. Guys, if you find where it's at, you get the invitation. Quote from Morrow himself.
But yeah, so I think that's a big significant change. We get to play Legacy, and we get to play Legacy Modern Standard with our teammates, both in reach of Central Pennsylvania and more modern. Moving on, this weekend we have the Pro Tour coming up. That will be obviously Friday through Sunday. Coverage will be on Twitch, and it starts every day at 9 a.m. Central, so 8 p.m. Eastern, right? It's 1 hour out. Friday and Saturday is 3 rounds of draft, then 5 rounds of standard, and then Sunday's just standard for the top 8. And I'm pretty sure they're using their new top 8 the method where they like, if you were top 8 of Swiss, you only have to play in the finals, but the other people play like quarterfinals to get into the semifinals, then semifinals get into the finals. So, yeah, their idea was to incentivize you not to draw into top 8 because you want to play to not have to play as many matches. And they're also best 3 out of 5 matches of Magic.
That's a lot of Magic.
Everyone loves more Magic.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. Look out for that this weekend. Besides that, I don't think there's any news because unfortunately we weren't able to get upcoming events for Save Point. Which I guess we didn't say this is brought to you by Save Point, did we?
I thought you did.
Okay, we did. Sweet.
Brought to you by Save Point. But talking about the Pro Tour, that is going to lead us into our topic for the day, and that's what will the Pro Tour bring us and what will Standard look like going forward. We brought up 3 decks that we thought were going to make probably the biggest splash, and we will start with Aetherworks Marvel.
Yeah, Aetherworks Marvel. This was a mainstay before... I think it was a mainstay before the Cat combo.
Yeah, I definitely think with the void of Sea-Healy copycat combos, I think this deck is definitely well suited to win some games. It's fast, it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to do things like cast Ulamog with Ceaseless Hunger on turn 3, I think you can do it. Right? With Servant of the Conduit, you make enough energy. Yeah. This list that we specifically brought up, of course, it's from a standard constructed league, which you can take that with a grain of salt. Sometimes the constructed leagues aren't exactly what you'll see at a huge event like a Pro Tour, or not a huge event, but a premier event like a Pro Tour. But also, the pros are testing out decks online also. So, obviously, it's Rug, right? Yes, it's Rug. Because you get cards like Rogue Refiner, which create energy, Whirler Virtuoso, which both create energy and gives you another way to win the game without activating your Marvel.
Rogue Refiner is probably one of the better cards in this deck, as it gives you that card draw on top of the energy. Mm-hmm. It's just a very solid card.
Why are you leering at us, Andre? I guess they can't see me leering back at you, so... you also have removal spells like Harness Lightning, Magma Spray, Bural's Expertise. Which expertise is that?
That's the bounce.
The blue one?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that just sets you back to so much tempo. And then I really like Nissa's Renewal. I played against a version of this deck that played Nissa's Renewal, and that card was really good, I found. Yeah, could you click on Nissa's Renewal so it'll come up? Because I want to talk about it, and I don't know the exact wording. It's like 7 mana... How many lands do you go get?
3 lands.
You can talk off when I'm asking questions. So
3.
So is it 7 mana? It's 7 mana, go get 3 lands.
6 mana.
6 mana, go get 3 lands and gain
7 life.
7 life. So it like sets you so far ahead. Like it's the best miss in the deck if you miss on your Marvel, because it gets you so much closer to casting Ulamog. Besides that, like, I don't know, like, looking at the sideboard of this deck, I don't know why it's playing the one of Bounty of Luxa. I guess it's playing 1 main also.
I think it's an interesting card here, because it casts like cards like your Rogue Refiner for free, and it draws you cards.
Mm.
I definitely could see it be coming out of the deck, but it's definitely an interesting addition.
Yeah, we were talking earlier before the podcast, we were talking to Andrew Fallon about it. And I think he had a really good point in that it's a good card, but currently it's just so easy to get run over in Standard that it might not be worth playing. So, moving on from that deck.
Move over to Blue-Red X Controls.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think... Or you want to talk about this?
Sure. I definitely think that Blue-Red Control is definitely going to be sticking around. I definitely think it's better than a lot of people want to say, from the beginning. It plays some interesting cards like Censor, which I have mixed feelings about, but I do think it has a good home in Standard right now. Yeah,
we'll actually be having a debate as to whether or not Censor is a good card and where it'll see play after we talk about Standard. So,
it has good win cons, like, those good old Torrential Gearhawk beats.
You don't even win with Torrential Gearhawk most of the time. You win with Wandering Fumarole most of the time.
There's nothing wrong with winning with a man land.
I mean, okay, I guess you win with Gearhulk a lot of the time, but you can win with either, and it's great.
I think it's pretty well positioned with as many counter spells and removal spells as we have. It has cards like Sweltering Suns, which can effectively remove the board from a fast aggro deck.
Mm-hmm. The one thing you have to worry about is the fact that you can't Sweltering Suns away vehicles, which is a big thing for this deck to watch out for.
Yeah, but with 3 main board negates for the list that we pulled up, that's definitely...
Yeah, I do think because it's playing 3 negates and 2 essence scatters, I think having 5 or 6 of those 2-drop counter spells is really relevant for why blue is such a good color again as a control deck.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more counter spell heavy standards we've seen in a while.
Yep. And then looking into the sideboard, you have things like 4 Dispels for the mirror match. You have 2 Dragon Master Outcasts for the more dirtly decks.
Release the Gremlins.
Release the Gremlins for vehicles. Glory Bringers are good against the vehicles deck because it kills. It deals with Gideon completely because you go attack, kill your 2/2, kill your Gideon with the combat damage, things like that. Sphinx of the Final Horde for the mirrors, more negates. Yeah, I just think this is what the copycat control decks were, but obviously you lost the copycat combo, so you get to get rid of white, which you didn't really need, and just play a nice streamlined blue-red control deck. And I definitely think it is better not playing the what was the thing that used energy to bolt stuff?
Harness Lightning?
No, the
artifact.
Dynavolt Tower. Yeah. I definitely think it is better not playing Dynavolt Tower than playing Dynavolt Tower.
Yeah, I feel like adding a card like Dynavolt Tower kind of takes away from just the pure control.
And it's also, you don't want to play, like, decks like this, you don't want to play at sorcery speed. And you have to take your turn 3 and play a 3-drop that does nothing at first, and people just run over you when you're not removing their creatures at instant speed.
Yeah. And moving on, the last deck list that we pulled up to talk about is Mardu Aggro.
Yeah, so this, so if you look at the Star City top 8 from 2 weeks ago, there was Mardu Aggro and there was Mardu Ballista. And I definitely think we're seeing more Mardu Aggro, which is pretty much just the Mardu Vehicles deck. They just flip-flop on names. You have your standard vehicles, creatures in Thraben Inspector, Toolcraft Exemplar, Scrap Heap Scrounger. Those were just the creatures that have been in the Mardu decks forever.
Really like the addition of Glory Bound Initiate, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of bringing back the good aggro feel. Mardu Vehicles started to get more closer to a mid-rangey deck to kind of combat with the slower, bigger decks. But I think we're going to start seeing it speed up.
Yeah, now that there's more control decks that can't just randomly win on turn 4, you definitely just want to punish them for dirtling around.
Yep, keep tapping dudes.
Yeah, and you have your standard Gideon Ally of Zendikar, the best, I think arguably the best card in Standard at the moment. You have Heart of Kirin, which makes it a vehicles deck. You have Avacyn, which is just... You get to play at instant speed, so there's that. You get to make your stuff indestructible. You get to win combat a lot. And then you just have the reason to play black in Fatal Push and Unlicensed Disintegration. Just the premium removal spells of Standard. And then you have your sideboard of just good, like, 1 or 2 ofs that shore up certain matchups. I do like the 1 of Sorin Grim Nemesis in this sideboard.
I like the Anguish and Megan and the Cut to Ribbons.
Oh, yeah.
Just really good removal, and then you have another win con in your sideboard.
Yeah, but I definitely think these are going to be the decks that the Pro Tour is mostly made of. I think there might be some other decks that see play. I think there's a green X, probably green blue, because that's what people have been brewing. Ramp deck of some sort. As to whether or not it'll do well, I don't know, because counter spells from the control decks do kind of negate the ramp decks' powerful plays. But I think those 3 decks are what to watch out at the Pro Tour. And if I had to make any guesses as to cards that'll go up in price because of the Pro Tour, I don't actually know that there's much that would, because all the cards they're seeing play are things like Gideon, who already is expensive, Heart of Kyrian, which I don't know how expensive it is, but just stuff that already has seen play before.
Censor has moved up to $2, depending on the blue-red success. We might see it go up maybe to $3.
Yeah, so if you want to, do we need to talk louder? Okay. Okay, so we'll talk louder. Hopefully that fixes it. But I do think if you wanted to take a gamble on speculating on a card, Censor might be the card to pick up, but it's definitely more of a gamble than other cards I've said to pick up. But that's what we think the Pro Tour is going to look like.
And that moves us to our card of the week, which is fitting that we ended talking about the deck lists on Censor, because our card of the week is, in fact, Censor. Like we said previously, I think it's good in Standard. I think it's well positioned in Standard within a blue-red control deck. It's everything it kind of wants to be. It's a counterspell. It cycles when it's no longer relevant. But then there's been comments that Censor's going to be a good card for Modern, and that's kind of where I want to talk about Censor. For Modern, we have just strictly better cards that still aren't being seen, played, like manually.
I mean, so we have strictly. The thing is, it's hard to find a card that's strictly better than Censor because it fills so many different gaps, because obviously cycling's relevant. But I think the biggest thing people don't realize, I'm with you in that Censor is honestly unplayable garbage in Modern and close to, it's not unplayable in Standard, but I don't think it's great in Standard. But I feel that in Modern, especially currently where we're in the world of really tuned aggro decks like Zoo, Affinity,
Merfolk,
Death Shadow, you just don't have time to be casting 2-drops that don't matter. Look at current Grixis lists or American lists. Not so much American lists. They do play some counterspells, but the Grixis lists have been shaving their 2-drop counterspells in Mana Leak, Deprive, and Remand, just shaving them completely and playing removal spells like Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt. They've even been shaving their 2-drop removal spells to play 1-drop, just because you don't have the time to pay 2 mana to do an effect. You have to pay 1 mana so you can play multiple spells in a turn.
Especially as 1-drops get better.
Yeah.
The more you see a card like Death Shadow, the harder it is to justify the mana costs on removal spells.
Yeah. Yep. So I think even there's also what situations does Modern change to make mediocre mana type better? Because I think that's the only way you can look at the card, because I don't think it being a 1-drop draw spell is that great, because you could just play a 1-drop draw spell. They have 3 different copies of that card and no one plays them for good reason, because cycling a card is not what you want to be doing in a control deck or a blue aggro deck.
I think the only way to make Censor better or playable in Modern is to basically just make it miscalculation.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much adding that 1 extra mana to the what would you call that effect?
The soft counter?
Yeah, adding the 1 extra mana needed to pay for the counter spell makes it just infinitely better. I think miscalculation would be really good. I think Censor is really not good.
I would agree.
But I do, like I said, I do think it might be worth speculating on them if you feel like gambling on the Pro Tour. So that brings us to the, I guess we're at the end of the show.
Yep.
We'll be, like I said, we are giving away a Modern Masters 17 pack to a random viewer. Andre, can you pull up all the people who are currently viewers? And I guess we'll just go to random.org and randomly spin a die. The good old, we should pick up zombie cards, according to someone in chat.
I mean,
zombies is not going to do well, I don't think.
Hey, zombies came in 8th in this constructed league.
Sure. If enough people, enough time to play a deck in a constructed league, eventually someone will 5-0.
I mean, we made it to top 8 once, then.
I mean, Ethan did one time a vintage daily with Popper Boggles, so that's our argument for bad decks do well.
That being said, I do think Zombies is a fun deck.
Yeah, it's a good F&M deck.
if you
I'd
wanna-
take it to F&M.
Yeah.
It's cheap, it's fun. Another deck that fills that slot is the Mono Black Aggro that actually apparently top 8'd the Open a couple weeks ago. That also is a cheap deck if you cut the lilies from it. I personally don't think it's good, but I also don't find cheap fun decks as good as just tier 1 or tier 1.5 decks. How we doing, Andre?
I'm working on it.
Alright, so random things to talk about.
I guess we can use this spot to, if you guys have any topics or any decks you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah, send us an email at spindownpodcast@gmail.com. So decks to talk about, topics to talk about.
We get some
Things you'd like us to stream, because future episodes we will be streaming on Moto.
Yeah, we'll be streaming on Moto. I know we talked about streaming Pokemon also. I know we talked about doing a charity stream. We'll also be streaming the top 4 of the Proxy League when Ethan gets back from... Did your wife just win a Modern Masters pack?
She did.
Well,
Hoffman, can you confirm that it was not rigged?
I did see that it was not rigged. Neither you or me had a chance of winning.
well,
All right, well...
congratulations, Rachel. I guess Andre will bring that pack home to you tonight.
Congratulations to Chris's wife.
So when he comes in with a foil Tarmogoyf, that money belongs to you, and we won't buy it from him.
All right, well, again, email us any feedback or ideas at spindownpodcast@gmail.com. We will be back next week, same time, 8:30 Wednesday.
Thanks for tuning in again. I'm Matt. This is Tiny.
That was Andre. And visit mysavepoint.com to get deals locally on
Magic Singles and mostly Dragon Shields.
Thank you.
Video games and card games.
And now we sit here awkwardly while we wait for Andre.